those who have been baptized into Christ have been called into the family of God himself. It started with the nation of Israel in the Old Testament. But when the gospel was preached, those who were not of the commonwealth of Israel were invited in through baptism. So that the promise that was given to the Jews in those early days now applied to the Gentiles, to us. We have been brought into the commonwealth of Israel through baptism, that we share in the life of the Son of God that was promised to the father of the Israelites, Abraham. And that promise is now fulfilled in the church, which, as the Apostle Paul says, is the new Israel. So when Adam fell and things got out of order, God acted. And he acted by calling out Abraham. Abraham was the first man to see that there was a God above all gods, one God. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one God. And he responded to that call, and he became a wanderer, following the very lead of God. And because of that faith in the one true God, God gave him the promise that out of your loins, all the nations of the world would be blessed. From you, Abraham, one day the Messiah would come. And he came. And he came and he brought a great light into the world. We can talk a lot about that, but we're going to save that for another time. But that great light not only illuminates our heart, it illuminates our mind. And the illumination of the heart and of the mind also turns back some of the darkness that is in the world. And the great redemptive work, the turning back from darkness and the slavery to sin that the world fell into because of Adam's sin, begins to be reversed. And it's reversed in the church, in the new Israel, into which we are adopted as sons of God by our baptism. That allegiance is stronger. It needs to be, because it's deeper than our allegiance to nation, even our allegiance to family. That's a harsh thing to hear. That's why it says sometimes in the Bible that if you put your mother or your father or your family above Christ, you're not worthy of him. He's not saying reject your family. He's saying that understand who this Jesus is, that you have been baptized into, because he is the center of all things. And everything, all life, all goodness, all meaning, all purpose emanates from that. And that is what vivifies, gives life to all your other relationships and associations. And if something were to stand between that something has to be removed so that you're standing in Christ will be secure. That's what he's saying. And this is clearer, I think, today than it's been for many, many years. Why? Why? Because we're seeing with our own eyes what happens when a people turn their back on God. When a people turn their back on God, and when they forget God, terrible things happen. They really do. Terrible things happen. You have the dissolution of order. You need order for progress. You need order for harmony. You need order for peaceful relationships. Peaceful relationship is the order. But those things are something that we have to apply our minds and our hearts to, and they require constant nurturance. And they come from the sense sometimes, and it applies to non-believers too, but who still live Christian-like. They still contribute to the culture, they do. But it comes ultimately, as I said, from the touchstone. If man willingly turns his back to God, he loses the touchstone. And as Dostoevsky said, the great Russian novelist who saw this happening in Russia, he said, when men cease to believe in God, they will believe in anything. And that's absolutely true. And another thing he said was, where there is no God, everything is permissible. That's true too. Because if there is no touchstone, and if there is no God, then the only guiding principle is our own passions, our own impulses, our own ideas. Because there's nothing there to test them. Nothing. We feel it, so it must be true. When that happens, the higher ethics, like justice and fairness and tolerance and compassion, which are really virtues that are drawn from the Christian religion, because they only exist there, are lost. And then all we have left is the great, the influential atheist Friedrich Nietzsche said, is a will to power. And he's absolutely right. Then in the end, when those virtues disappear as part of our thinking and as part of the machinery of our society, the governing precepts of how we treat one another, then all that's left is that the strongest will rule. Now, this is the way the world used to be, because as Paul said, that before Christ, we were all subject to the elemental spirits of the universe. So with us, when we were children, we were slaves to the elemental spirits of the universe. But when the time had fully come, God sent forth his Son to redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive adoptions as sons.